Welcome to a self-published author's diary. I am Elodie Novodatsky. I write about first time, second chances, things that scare the crap out of me, and things that make me laugh out loud. I'll be speaking with you and sharing my adventures in self-publishing, the behind the scenes of writing, and the business side of it. And before we get started today, a small message from our sponsor, Anchor. Thanks for listening. Hello, how are you doing? I hope you're all doing great. I hope you're all reading or listening to a wonderful book. And if you're writing, that the words are flowing. I am very happy to welcome Ines Johnson today on the podcast. She is a self-published author who has published 65 books under 2 to 3 pen names. You'll hear about that in the chat. A couple of weeks ago, I read on BookBub an article Ines wrote entitled How I Make Six Figures as a Self-Published Author. By the way, if you want to receive the BookBub latest book marketing tips and insights delivered to your inbox each week, you can click on the article, which I'm putting in the show's description. And then on the right, you can add your email and then you'll get like an email with marketing ideas. And voila. So before telling you a little bit more about Ines and before our chat, I did want to give you a short non-writing and non-book related update because on Tuesday, on the episode on Tuesday, I talked about the fact that I was getting my port removed and that I was anxious and excited and excited and anxious and excited, anxious, everything. A lot of feelings. I mentioned that I was going to have the outpatient surgery and I figured I probably should let you know that it went well. I had the outpatient surgery on Monday, and I could give you a lot of details, but I will probably not give you a lot of details, just that it went well. And yeah, my husband was able to come with me to the hospital, and so yes, Alex, if you're listening, I've already told you, but I'm saying it on the podcast here too, because, thank you. I really appreciate it. And yeah, so that was that little update. Now back to a self-published business, author's business. And with Ines, again, did I mention she wrote 65 books. In that article I just mentioned, the How I Make Six Figures as a Self-Published Author, she describes how she learned from her mistakes and turned them around. And it was funny because her article came about the same time that I wrote on my blog about my top 5 self-publishing mistakes. And she actually turned her mistakes, so to speak, like she learned from them and she truly has turned them around and has found success as a self-published author. And you'll hear in the chat at some point I tell her that, that's what I need to do. A little bit about Ines. She's says on her BookBub article, and I'm quoting here from her BookBub article, she says, author of paranormal romance with lots of kissing. She also writes sweet Western romances under the pen name Ines Johnson. There's kissing in those books too. And she says that she's a pretty big failure, but that was the key to her success. I have a giveaway. I actually have 2 giveaways for one book by Ines Johnson and one book by her other pen name. Well, actually, you could choose between two books there by Ines Johnson. The giveaways are, the first one is for Bright, and Bright is a new adult romance touched by fantasy mixed with science fiction and a dash of the paranormal. If you've ever wished upon a star, if you felt the glow of finding where you belong, if you know the brilliance of first love, then you'll fall for Bright. And the second giveaway, you can win a copy of Hand Over His Heart, The Brides of Purple Heart Ranch Book 2, or a copy of Sweet Carol. Both of those books are sweet romances. And Hand Over His Heart is a scholar reaching for her dreams, her hero living on borrowed time, can she make them a permanent arrangement before his time runs out? And Sweet Carol is a sweet holiday romance. Ariana Carroll has the voice of a siren, but after an embarrassing incident on stage, she walked away with stage fright so severe that she barely speaks. So when she's singing late one night to the crashing waves, she's shocked to find that a handsome man hears her voice. And that handsome man has a secret. The 3 books sound amazing. And the links to the giveaways are on this show's description, and they're also on my website, www.elodienowodatsky.com. Elodie is ELODSdogIE, and Nowodatsky is NOWODSdogAZKIJ. And today, as I said, Ines not only shares her insights about the work behind her self-publishing success, which includes setting goals and planning and advertising and choosing to be wide and more. We also chat about her writing process and how her experience writing screenplays influences her writing of novels, why she's not really on social media, how she rewards herself, and so much more. I really enjoyed talking with Ines, and after our chat, I will be sharing a little bit more about what I've been to this week in terms of writing and self-publishing in a new segment entitled Struggles and Smiles. But for now, here is Ines Johnson.
Hi again, everybody. I am so happy and honored to have Ines Johnson on the podcast with me today. As I've mentioned, I actually heard about Ines by reading one of the BookBub articles about self-publishing. And so, Ines, thank you for answering my email. Thank you for being here with us.
Thank you for having me.
Can you please say a few words about yourself and your books?
Sure. I'm Ines. Hi, everybody. As I like to say, I write kissing books, and I've been writing for a long time. I come from the world of television as a screenwriter, and then one day I just started writing a book, and it became a book. And I put it up online, and people started to buy it, and it kind of got addictive, so I kept writing. And now I have a lot of books, a whole lot of books. And this is my life now, writing books.
So you are using different pen names. This was one of the things. And it was funny because when I read your article, I had just written about my top 5 self-publishing mistakes. And the week after, I got the email with, these are my top, and now I'm making 6 figures. I'm like, oh, I need to read this because I just wrote about my mistakes and I am not making 6 figures. So I need to your post was definitely more helpful than mine because I'm still learning. So I don't have and this is what I've done to change it. You have this is what I did and this is what I've done to make it work. So which was wonderful and super helpful. So thank you for sharing your knowledge.
Welcome. So everybody looking in on what I did wrong.
I think it's really part of the process, especially in self-publishing, unless you make it from the get-go. But I think it's so rare for people to make it from the get-go.
I agree.
And then people just think that, there's a book coming out and it's so successful, or that somebody has a lot of book and that's just the way that it has been since the beginning, but it's not.
Mm-hmm.
And you've mentioned, so you have different pen names and for different steam level.
Mm-hmm.
Can you please, if that's okay,
Sure.
tell me your different pen names and what steam level each of them have and how do you pronounce them?
Sure. So Ines Johnson is a pen name. It's really just my initials, NS. I thought it was so clever, but people are still like, is it Ines? Is it Ines? Yeah, it's not easier because my real name is hard to spell. I know. But Ines writes paranormal romance and urban fantasy romance that is steamy. Once upon a time, I broke myself into 2. I was Ines Johnson and I was N.S. Johnson, and I wrote super steamy erotic romance. And you would have read about that in the BookBub article. Yeah. But this year, I decided to merge those 2 back together, the NS and the NS, for reasons. And my more recent pen name is my middle name, Shanae, which I was a little nervous that people wouldn't know how to spell that either. But Ines Johnson is my sweet, clean, and wholesome pen name, and she mostly writes contemporary Western romances.
Thank you. And when you put them back together, the NS and the Ines, did you have to republish all the books, right? So you have to do, because, or how do you do that?
No, it was simple. I just went into my dashboard and I erased the name NS and put in NS. Super simple. And I only did that because for two reasons. One, I wasn't hiding. I've always told people I'm NS and NS. Just some readers weren't interested in both of those books, both of those pen names books. When I decided to, re-merge myself and mind meld, it was because I was 3 pen names and it was a lot of work. And I couldn't feed all of the pen names. And I saw that my NS readers and my NS readers were a lot of the same people, not all the same people, but a lot of the same people. And I just started to tell people, I was like, look, I'm putting these 2 pen names and getting the band back together here, folks. You do not have to read these super steamy, sometimes completely far out there books from NS, but I'm going to put them all back together. And I've gotten a really good response, because even with my NS pen name, who writes urban fantasy and paranormal romance, it was still really steamy. So my readers were obviously, they're really kinky, because they're like, we like both of these. So yeah, I just went into the dashboards and I just erased the name NS and put in NS. So the other reason that I did that was because I wasn't trying to hide. So it kept the same ASIN on Amazon, and it would keep the same book identifiers in the other platforms, so that no one would mistakenly buy the book twice. I did not want that to happen.
Yeah.
I kept all the reviews. It was no muss, no fuss. No, all I had to do was change the cover, do a little bit of updating on the formatting inside the book, and I was done.
That is great. Mm-hmm. And what I find fascinating as well is you mentioned it in the book article and now again about how you heard from your readers, or your readers don't seem. How do you survey your readers to know, like, how did you find out that the steam level was really what mattered to them and not the genre?
At first it was by accident, because I didn't understand why I wrote this dystopian menage MMF romance. And MMF, when the M's are together, it means the swords crossed, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I wrote that, and then I wrote a sweet contemporary book. And when I say sweet, it wasn't like clean and wholesome. It was just male-female contemporary romance, and the sales were vastly different. And I would send it out in my newsletter, and I could see in my newsletter that people weren't clicking it. So something was different. And then I just started to ask questions. It was like, how did you find me? What books did you find me with? And they were like, yeah, we found you with the MF book. I don't know about that other MF book. I'm not into that. Or we found you with the MMF book. And yeah, I'm not really into the tame contemporary stuff. So it was just first seeing the discrepancy. And then I just started to ask questions like, how did you find me? What's your favorite book of mine? Did you know about this book? And it just started to come out.
Which newsletter provider do you use?
I have always used MailChimp. I know some people are unhappy with paying for this service, or like, they're a great service. You pay for, good service. And they have had some hiccups in the past where I remember they turned on 2-factor authentication, which was annoying. But at the same time, I understand people were getting put on newsletters and they didn't want to be there, and that was hurting everybody. So I understood that. They did something else. I don't remember. Oh, they raised prices. But I was like, they raised prices by a few dollars. It wasn't, to me, I've always been on the paid plan. And I think it was people got upset because, like, on the free plan, things changed. But again, I'm one of those people that I'm like, if I want a good service, I'm going to pay for it. And every time I send a newsletter, every single time, I make money. So it's entirely worth it to me.
Yeah, I think that's like, once you start, I'm on the paid plan, and I think I've always been, I don't know why, but I think I've always been on the paid plan as well. So there hasn't been a lot. I'm like on the legacy paid plan, or whatever it's called. And I have found their customer service very helpful, like their chat, because I've had issues before with something not working. And every time I email them, they're either very responsive within 24 hours, or they're available on the chat. So
that's important.
But so far, I'm still, and I think the what you've mentioned about asking your readers where they found you, I've had readers before you could add the tag on MailChimp too, so I have no idea where they come from. Like, it's like, this great, you're on my mailing list and you've been there for quite a while, but I don't know how you found me. And I think I should probably ask them too, because I write contemporary romance and I write romantic suspense, and I'm going to have a rom-com series out. Pretty much all the same steam levels. But sometimes I'm wondering, if I do something a bit steamier, are those readers going to follow me or not? And I'm guessing probably not necessarily.
I don't think it's just about the steam level. I think that there are people who go to steamy books for a reason, and I think that there are people who want clean books or sweet books where there's no on-page shenanigans. But within those, you still have different categories. You have your steamy paranormal romance, you have your steamy erotic romance, you have your steamy cowboy romance, and then you can have the same thing in things that are sweeter or more cleaner. So I think there's niches that readers will gravitate towards. Like, some people just want cowboy romances. Like me, you put a Marriage of a Convenience where there's forced proximity, you put it on the moon, you put it on sea, you put it in historical times, in the future, I'm there. I love that niche. Doesn't matter to me if it's steamy or clean. So I think that readers know what they're looking for. And I think it's just about being clear what you write, and being able to make clear the niche, and being able to make clear the steam level. I think those are two important things that readers are going to want to know.
That's a very good point. And that brings me to another question I've had, which was, how do you feel like the readers have found you, or have you found the readers? As like a self-published author, sometimes it's kind of like, find me, but I want to find you.
I shout about my books, and I'm an introvert, so I'm not like physically or literally shouting. I advertise my books a lot every day. I'm running Facebook ads and shouting to people about, hey, look at this amazing book that is this particular niche and this particular steam level. Is this your catnip? Come and get it. I'm sending out, I'm paying for paid newsletters. I'm sending out my newsletter every week. I'm doing newsletter swaps. I'm always looking for new readers and shoving my books into their faces.
That's interesting. And for the Facebook ads, have you found that you have a level of spending before you actually get results, or is it something lower and you can already get, like, what have you found with Facebook? Because I've cracked, I think, the Facebook ads for France, because I write in English, and I get my books translated in French, and I managed to, I think, get into the Facebook ads in that particular, like in France, for romance novels at the right moment. So I was able to get a very low click, I forgot.
Cost per click.
Thank you. Cost per click. And it transformed, like, it really did go into sales. And in the US, for my English speaking books, I have the feeling that sometimes maybe I'm not spending enough to be seen by people. So I'm not quite sure how to go about it. So I was wondering, for you, do you feel like, because you've narrowed so much your niche as well, that you're more efficient maybe into reaching readers?
I would like to think so, but no, I've never thought of it like that. That's a great compliment that I want to claim. But I think there's a lot of things that happen with Facebook ads and with any type of advertising. And I don't think it's always just one thing. One of the things that I realized really quickly when I started to advertise in any shape or form, be it Facebook ads, Amazon ads, paid newsletter, one of the things I realized is there's a price tag to enter this world. And that price tag is learning. Even if you take a course, which you have to pay for, or you find it for free, you still have to get in there and you have to test things out. I think that's the biggest deterrent for we creatives, right? We create these beautiful words and put the words down on the page. And then here comes the math and the statistics and the spreadsheets. And we don't want any of that.
Yes, I'm still learning how to do mine. So
yeah, which can be fine, right? You can always find help to get this done for you. But I'm a believer in that nobody is going to do better for my books than me. So I sat down, I figured this out. And again, I saw this is going to take this. There's a price. So I spent a year trying to figure out Facebook ads, and I spent money trying to figure out just running like $5 a day Facebook ads. But I knew that $5 a day, 30 days a month, I knew that $150, I might not see that again. But that was the cost of me learning how to do this for me. So with that being said, with Facebook ads, you would think that you would try to niche down, right? Like you would find the Western romance, the clean and wholesome. But I found that it's not so incredibly niche like that. Like there's only a couple hundred authors that you can target in a Facebook ad. Yes. And then when you narrow it down to look at, well, who is the sweet authors or who is the paranormal authors? I think I counted one day, and I think there were 10 authors who were actually sweet, clean and wholesome, that my books would actually sit next to you on like Barnes & Noble bookshelf. And the same thing with paranormal romance. There was like maybe 15 of them. So, and they didn't necessarily write what I wrote, but those readers, it was a possibility that those readers might buy my book. So I would just, if I could sit my book next to that person's book, that reader might be interested. So it took a lot of money for me to start figuring, a lot of money, a lot of classes, a lot of testing for me to start figuring.
A lot of time.
Yeah. And so I just knew that was going to be it. And I sat down with my math and my spreadsheets, and I did it.
Well, I think the compliment stays, because like it's something that I feel like sometimes I'm trying and then I'm stopping because I'm like, oh, it's not going, especially in English. I'm like, it's just not going the way I want them to. And I haven't narrowed down who I also can, I just need, I think, to just sit my butt in the chair more and do what you did, and just my spreadsheet. My husband is going to hear the word spreadsheet. He's going to say, I told you, spreadsheet all the way. No, you're right. You're just very right. So you've mentioned you come from screenwriting.
I do.
And so when did you start actually, what year was it that you put down that book and that people started reading it or published that book?
Oh gosh, I don't remember. I published my first book at the end of 2014. Before that, I had been working on one single book for years, which will never see the light of day, sadly. Even though it's my goal in life to figure out how to publish that book, it rightly sits in a desk drawer. So I don't remember when I started to actually sit down and write books. I've always written. I've always been a storyteller. But at some point, self-publishing came on board. And I was like, oh, I can do this myself. And I'm that kind. I come from the world of, I grew up, when I went to college, I learned from indie guerrilla filmmakers, those people who would be, on the street with the camera in their hands, not a big crew behind them. So I learned from them. So in my mind was always, you don't need to go through a middleman. You can do it yourself. And so when I started to learn about indie publishing, it just made sense to me, because I had ideas I knew how to produce a story. I knew how to shout about my story with marketing. And now I had a platform to actually reach the readers. And I just did it.
You were wide and then not wide. So on Kindle Unlimited and then not on Kindle Unlimited. And then you said you've done that for a few years before decided to go just wide. And have you heard from anything from the readers? You said sometimes you lose some and you win some when you switch platforms. Is that something you're considering changing in the future? Or are you right now happy with being wide still?
I'm incredibly happy with being wide. The only readers I hear from are the Kindle Unlimited readers who are like, why is your book in KU? And my response is always filled with nice little red heart emojis. And I tell them it's because my book is in the library for absolutely free. So feel free to go and patronize your local library.
That is true. Yeah, that's a very good point.
Yeah. I don't like the exclusivity. That's a hard thing for me. I started to really make money in independent publishing a couple of months before I lost my teaching job. I taught at a college for 15 years. It became my single source of income once I left the television world, and it was gone. And so that freaked me out. And I never wanted to be in that situation again where all of my eggs were in one basket. So that's why I'm wide. I don't like depending upon one source of income. And my stress levels are non-existent because I know that I can make all the money that I need off of Barnes & Noble or Apple every month. So I'm this is the lifestyle that I prefer.
Yeah, I mean, you did mention you touched upon that on your BookBub article, and that was something that I haven't also thought the response about the library, which is true. When you're wide, like it's on Overdrive or Hoopla or wherever they want to go and get it.
Being wide is not just being non-Kindle Unlimited. Yes, my books are on Amazon and on Barnes & Noble and Apple and Google Play and Kobo and Draft to Digital, where it goes to Scribd and Hoopla. But my books are also in print widely. They're in large print widely. I have audiobooks. I'm working on translations. So I'm in programs like Radish. I'm trying to find as many places to put up my book and reach different readers as possible. Yeah. So that's what wide means to me.
I think I'm going to use that as an excerpt. Not being on Kindle Unlimited does not mean just not being on Kindle Unlimited. Being wide is not that. It's a very good point. Has your process in terms of writing changed since you started really having your main source of income from writing instead of, in addition, teaching and everything else?
Not really. I'm a morning person. I've always been a morning person, so I would always get up and I'd write before I would go and teach college. And it's the same. I just get up now and I come to my desk and I write before I do anything else. So that has remained the same. I just write more now. So it used to be I'd write for just an hour or a couple of hours, and then I'd go in and I'd teach and my brain would be done. I was like, shut up, don't ask me anything else. But now I write in the morning, I take a break, and then I write again.
Okay. And do you have any productivity tips for writers out there?
Reward yourself. Some folks like to reward themselves with, buying new clothes, going on a vacation, going out to dinner. I'm easy. Stickers do it for me. So I write words, and every 500 words I write, whether they're new words or revised words, I get a sticker. I get a gold star, and it's silly.
It feels good,
but it works. It works for me. Nothing else. I can tell myself, you can go, like not National Geographic, the Smithsonian Institute, they're starting to do cruises around the world. And I was like, oh, I want to do that. I should tie it to a book. And I was like, no, don't tie it to a book, because if you want to go, you're going to go. But if you don't write your 500 words, you're not going to get a sticker.
Yeah, that sticker is not going to appear no matter what.
Right? I cannot buy the stickers cost like $1 a pack. And it's less than a penny a sticker, but I work for those stickers.
I need to start. I used to do that a little bit, and I'm trying, when you have the planners and you're trying to make them all look pretty, and it's not for me. Then I spend too much time trying to make it look a certain way, and it never looks the way that I want to. But I think the sticker part, if I can just get something where I put the stickers in, they will look pretty.
Gold stickers, they shine so bright.
Exactly. You had something else in the BookBub article that really resonated with me, talking about, productivity and all that stuff. And it was, I get diminishing returns if I try to write more than that.
Yeah.
When did you figure that out? Like, when did you figure out that, or how? Like, there is a point, I think, for all writers that at some point you just can't give output. Like, your brain needs to rest. And when you are teaching, especially, like I remember teaching, and it's exhausting.
Teaching was exhausting because I taught screenwriting, and so I had 20 students a class, and sometimes 2 to 3 classes, and I was giving them my brain, my creativity, to help them to fix their stories. And so by the time it came to my story, I was tired, which is why I would do my stuff first.
Yeah.
When I became full time, I was like, I've got all this time, all these hours. I'm gonna write a book in a day. I never tried to do that, but when I pushed myself too far, I felt it. You can feel it in your head. Your head gets foggy. You can't remember how to spell the.
Yeah.
So it was instances like that where I started to, because I'm one of those people that I like to track improvement.
Yeah.
I'm tracking it along, and I'm starting to see, I might be putting down a lot of words in a day, but then when I come back to revise, it's taking me 2 times as long, 3 times as long, because those words weren't any quality. So that's how I came up with it. I saw, if I know I could push myself to this point, but if I do, the returns are going to diminish because I'm going to have to spend more time revising. I just really pay attention. I really pay attention to myself. That's how I knew.
You probably have an Excel list for that too, don't you?
No, I have a sticker spread for it because that's prettier than Excel.
So is it how you maintain a steady releasing schedule, or is it something, because you've mentioned as well, again, in the article, that it's important for the readers like to know when you're going to release. So if you're not going to be releasing every month, then the expectation is maybe every 2 to 3 months. How do you maintain that publishing schedule?
It's about consistency. So it's really not about how fast or slow you write. It's really about consistency. Because if a reader knows, like I have a friend who writes a book a year and she's making a full-time income, and readers are clamoring for her next book to come out. Same as I have a friend who writes, who are writing shorter books, and they do a book a week because they're short. Yeah, they're like 15K to 20K books, really short, and they write a book a week, and the readers know to show up for them once a week, and they're doing really well. So it's really a matter of you figuring out what your pace is and sticking to that pace. That's really as simple as it is. Like, you don't have to write fast. You don't have to write slow. I just showed you two extremes, and I'm somewhere in the middle in there.
Yeah.
But my readers know because I have pre-orders up when to expect something from me.
That's cool. Are you active on social media? Like, do you think it's important to be on social media? Because you also have now you have two. Now you have the two pen names. So are you active on social media for both of them? Or is that your social media presence is solely to run the Facebook ads? Or are you also active?
Every quarter, I make a goal to be more active on social media. In the first 2 weeks, it goes great. And then it doesn't go.
It's like me every week.
Right? It's not something, it does not spark joy for me.
Okay.
It feels like work. And then I get annoyed and it's like, I don't want to do this anymore. It's not moving the needle anyway. And it might be moving the needle, but I don't know, because my brain is trained on, I don't want to do this. Mm-hmm. And so that was an important lesson for me. I think it's better to do the things that you're good at, to do the things that make you happy, that you're excited to do, than to do the things that like, I'm not going to go on TikTok, even though I'm hearing my friends talk about how they're moving a lot of books on TikTok. I'm not going on TikTok. I do not enjoy being on camera. I don't like interacting with people that I don't know.
Yeah.
So, like, I will send you an email. I'm happy to email my readers. Anytime you want to email, I will talk your ear off over email. But face to face, like, it does not sound like a good time for me to go and do a book signing. Like, that does not sound like fun to me, unless I'm going to see another author and I'm talking about their books. Yeah. But you want me to sit at a table and have people come and sign that does not sound like fun to me. But you can email me and I'll send you a signed copy. So I know what I'm good at. I know what makes me uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Social media is something that makes me uncomfortable unless I'm talking to somebody that I know. I'm very good at ads, because ads are just another form of storytelling. And I'm very good at doing that and finding readers and getting them to buy my books. But then I don't have a Facebook group. I don't know how to do Instagram stories, although I should learn, because that's another way to do ads. And that's all I'm thinking of doing with Instagram is just showing people my books. Get to know my characters. They are for you.
Yeah.
But no. So the short answer to your question is, I am not on social media because I don't enjoy it. But if someone else enjoys it, they're probably going to be excellent at social media, and they should therefore do it. Like, they might think that running ads is just an awful idea, but they're really good and personable and can interact with people better. So if you're good at that, that's what you should do. That's what you should focus on.
I found, I've been taking notes at the minute that you're talking, because I'm like, okay, that one is an excerpt. That one is an excerpt. So I have, like, right now I have 24 minutes, 45, 25 minutes, 26 minutes.
I'll stop saying sound bites.
That's great. Love it. Because also, like, I think what you've mentioned about, your characters could be, and like, for me right now, there's so much discussion about the author brand. What is the author brand? Mm-hmm. Are you your brand? Are you on social media then the brand that you present to the world? And for you, it seems to be like, no, your books are like, this is what your brand is.
My books are my brand. I am not my brand. I will, like I told you, like, if it's a marriage of convenience, some type of forced proximity, it doesn't matter to me the scene level or the subgenre. Give it to me right now. but my readers aren't like that. My readers, I found a niche market with my readers, especially with my sweet readers. And I said this in the article, my sweet readers, I write clean, wholesome, sweet Western romance with military veterans. And my reader on a horse rehab ranch, they love it. They eat it up. They want more. I wrote a royal romance that was also sweet, and they were like, yeah, that's cute. When's the next Purple Heart Ranch book coming out? That's all they want. I've found a niche. The readers have told me what they want, and I stick to what they want.
So we've talked about advertisement before. What is the one tip you would give somebody who's self-publishing about advertisement?
The first thing when it comes to any marketing is the first thing that you need to do is do the math. Some people throw spaghetti at the wall, whether the spaghetti is cooked or not. They just throw the spaghetti at the wall. And they don't know, it's like, do you want to eat the spaghetti or not? I'm mixing all kinds of metaphors because a lot of people just come into this industry saying, I want to be successful. And they don't know what success looks like for them. In that book club article, I gave you my math. I told you exactly what success looked like to me. Success looked like $2,500 a month.
Yeah.
And then I broke that down to 80 some odd dollars a day. And how am I going to make $80 a day? How many books do I have to sell? Where do I have to go to promote to get me the $80 a day? That was my math. So do the math. That's the first thing. You need to have a number. Even if you don't need this money for your livelihood, if you don't need the money, then you're doing it for a different reason. Maybe you're doing it because you want people to read your book. Well, then that's a different kind of math. Like, how many people do you want to read your book? Yeah. Like, maybe you'd be happy if 100 people who are not your family read your book. Then that becomes a different kind of math. You want to sell a couple of books a day to people who are not in your family. It all comes down to math. First, do the math. And then once you do the math, then you make the plan. How am I going to find these people who are not my family? How am I going to get that $80 a day? What do I have to do? Should I try Facebook ads? Should I try paid newsletter? If I don't have any money, maybe I'll do newsletter swaps. Again, if I don't have any money, maybe I'll start posting on Instagram and on TikTok and on Facebook, which is free. And I can get some folks. If you do have some money, then maybe you will pay for ads like an AMS ad or a BookBub cost per click ad. Do the math and then make a plan. It's as simple and as difficult as that.
Yeah, as simple and as difficult as that. Mm-hmm. And you said you were going to stop giving me sound bites.
I'm sorry.
Don't be sorry. It's great. I'm also getting better now. Instead of like afterwards, wait, where did she say that? I'm actually taking notes, which I use not to do. So it's working great for me. Have you ever thought about being a hybrid, being, traditionally published and self-published, for those of people listening who may not know what hybrid is?
I would be interested in Harlequin because that's where I cut my romance teeth. But I get nervous about it because I'm like, I'm so fiercely independent, like fiercely. Like, would I be able to hand something over to somebody? And I know I have friends who are hybrid or who are traditionally published, and they say, that the traditional publishers, they want you involved in the marketing, they want you involved, but at the same time, my level of involvement, where we have this window open where I can see you, and next to that is my Amazon dashboard and my Facebook Ads Manager dashboard, and I'm looking at both of them. I'm tracking when I get clicks and when I get sales. I can't do that with a trap publisher, so I don't know if I would be a good client.
Yeah. The relinquishing of control, yeah.
But it's also like, what I can bring a story to the table, but then there's nothing else that I can do after that, because what I know how to do, you're not going to give me control of the dashboard where I can start to measure the clicks and the sales at the same time. Like, if you handle all of it, sure, but otherwise, I can't bring the stuff that I'm good at other than writing the book to the table. So I don't know. It's not high on my priority list, but that is like a bucket list thing. Like, I would love to have my name on a Harlequin romance one day.
Well, I will be looking forward to know also what name you're going to be put it out there for that one. Maybe you'll come up with a new one, and then it will, a new identity, so you don't have to worry about you're like, no, I just put two together, right? Elodia, you're not listening. I just put you back together. When you think about writing, what are the 3 words that come to mind?
Peace. Writing is very peaceful to me, and even when it's not, I find it peaceful that this is what I get to do with my days and play in my head and put it down on paper. And that makes me very happy. It's fun. I get very excited when I figure out, like, I'm writing a book. I was writing with El Penelope this morning. We write together every weekday morning, and I've been having such trouble in this current manuscript that I'm working on. And I've just been whining to her each morning. And today, because I couldn't figure out one of the main things that I do when I start a book, and I'm in chapter 2 of this book. One of the first things that I do is I make sure that you feel empathy for my hero and my heroine. And my heroine, yeah, you felt empathy for her because her best friend was like gorgeous, tall, statuesque, and she was like the little mouse in the corner. And then my hero, I was like, this guy's not likable. What am I gonna do? And then I figured it out. And I was just bouncing up and down and like, yes, he's empathetic. People are gonna fall for him. Yay, I figured it out. Even though he's a jerk, people are gonna fall for him because of this little thing from his childhood that I put on the page. Figured that out, and it was fun. I had so much joy. 3. And then so full circle. So that moment that I keep coming full circle with these stories where I start these people in one place and then I take them on this journey, and it's like a mirror reflected at the very end where they're the same, but they're brand new at the same time.
That's, I mean, the getting your characters, the sympathy from the readers, like that little, it is so important. And sometimes like just getting it on the first chapter, I mean, that's the one that
comes from screenwriting, because you have 50. There was this unwritten rule that you had 15 minutes for at a movie theater before people could get their money back. So if you didn't make them care in that first 15 minutes, you're going to lose money. So that has always stuck with me.
It is, but it is something that I know I struggled with, the unlikable, like make sure that there is a small thing. And just hearing that you sometimes just put on the page a little sliver of their childhood and people are like, oh.
And then they go and do something mean.
And you're like, but that's okay because, oh. I have to remember that. That's something I'm actually going to go back afterwards and look at the first chapter for my hero and make sure that I have a little thing where the reader
the technical term for it is the save the cat moment. There's a book called Save the Cat, and it's based on, there was a Clint Eastwood movie, I think it was Dirty Harry, and in the first couple of minutes, this guy, Dirty Harry, just comes out and he's shooting up people, he's killing everybody left and right. And when they showed this to a test audience, everybody hated Dirty Harry. But they didn't have time or the money to rewrite and reshoot the movie with Clint Eastwood. So what they did is they have him come out, he's shooting up, and then there's a cat that walks by, and he scoops up the cat. True story. He scoops up the cat, protects the cat, and shoot, bang, 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 keep shooting him up. And the audience, this next test audience, is like, oh, he's so sweet. And it's called the Save the Cat moment. And you should have a Save the Cat moment early on in your book.
Save the Cat moment early on in the book. I've known about Save the Cat, the book, and I did not actually I have not read it. I have it on my shelf.
That is what it's based on, that moment.
This is cool. I might check to see if there's a cat that maybe he can like avoid like swerving. And then I'll note in the acknowledgement, thank you to Ines for reminding me about Save the Cat. So when you think about self-publishing, are those the same words that come to mind, or is it probably different, right? Because it's more of the business side of it.
Yeah. So with self-publishing, it's control. I am a control freak. I'm an admitted control freak. I think that's why I like planning so much, because I get to pretend that I have complete control over my day. Who nobody does. Yeah. But it's my fantasy. So I have complete control over my business, and that makes me feel super happy. I'm completely unemployable now. Like, I don't know how to work for somebody else because I'm a mean boss. I mean, it's a gorgeous day out and I'm sitting here still in my PJs writing. I did have breakfast, but I haven't had lunch. So control, independent, because I was one of those kids in school. I hated group work. Oh my God, I hated group work because I just wanted to take it from the person and just do it myself, which is awful. But I know myself. I know myself really well. And I know I'm a control freak. And I know I'm a very independent person. I'm a good friend. I promise you. Ask Leslie. I'm a good friend. But
those things are not, you can be those things and still be like, I did not make any connection in my mind about
But yeah, that's how I am in my professional life. I am a control freak. I am independent. And then the other thing is money. I was with a small press once with one book. And I couldn't wait to get my book back because the amount of money I made it was 2 years that I was published with them. I made it in a month when I had my book back in my hands. I'm making more money than I made there was a time in my life where I was a college professor as well as an executive producer on a television show, and I'm making more money now than I was when I held those two high-powered positions. So money is the third word, is what self-publishing does, because I truly feel it I really feel like the secret to my success was really playing off my strengths and having a very clear plan, having clear goals, and then a clear plan. So knowing myself, knowing what I'm good at and what I'm not good at, and what would make me unhappy and what makes me excited to get up and do, and focusing on what makes me happy and excited, having very clear goals, having to make that $2,500 a month, and then making a concrete, measurable plan. That's the secret. That's what did it.
Yeah. And I think like what you've said about trad publishing, it seems more and more authors have to also do their own marketing without getting the control of seeing what works and what doesn't. So it's very, I think that makes it harder too. But at the same time, there are authors who also know themselves, I think, and don't have this control and like over organization for everything, because it's self-publishing is a lot of
it is a whole lot of a lot. And you're absolutely right. For those that aren't interested, or it does not spark joy to sit and look at the Facebook ads dashboard and to figure out like how to get your cost per click down and how to get your ROI up, if that does not make you excited, then this industry, to do it this way, this is a whole lot more work. Whereas you get the joy of just sitting down and writing the words and then handing it over to someone else, if you go trad, and letting them deal with all that other stuff, and you write the next book. I like the control, so that's why I'm over here in this lane.
Yeah. No, I and you're successful. In addition, your plan has been successful. Like I'm not necessarily as successful, and I'm still enjoying. Like I was thinking about, should I query the next book I'm writing right now? Like, is it something that I want to do? And I just can't. Like right now, I'm going to be releasing on my birthday, which So it's kind of like it's something that I'm thinking where I would not be able to do that with a trad publisher. I would not be able to ask my readers which one of the two different covers are they going to like the best. I will not be able to engage my readers. I could, but I think it would be different. Maybe not harder, but different. And I'm not sure that I want to go through that learning curve of, and then, I mean, it's very cocky of me to be kind of like, I just wanted to check if I could query, because of course I would get an agent. Then of course I would go to submission, and then it would also just right away be published everywhere.
I don't see why not.
You have that thing too, right? Like you leave the chance to somebody else to pick you up and then submit it and be at the right time and everything. So I think, the control part of self-publishing is something I enjoy too. So I get it. And I'm a good friend too. So.
Do you hear that, everybody? We are awesome friends.
I'm going to get an email from someone like, well, actually, I wanted to let you know, this is the moment to tell you. So you've mentioned the stickers before, and this is how you celebrate. Do you have anything else except the Smithsonian cruise that you will not use to celebrate, because you might do it anyways? Anything else you do to celebrate, like milestones, a new book being published or anything?
Honestly, no. And that's bad, because I should. But in my defense, I read a lot of freaking books. So
how many did you publish a year ago?
I don't know. You had written me one and asked me how many books have I published, and I sat down and I counted, and I got a headache, but I counted, and the number, and I still don't remember. I have to look because I wrote it down. 65. That's how many books I've published so far since 2014.
Is it 65 in English, or do you have translations in there?
Good question. No, it is 65 all in English. I'm not counting the box sets and the anthologies and all that stuff. Yes.
Wow.
65.
Wow. I'm just going to sit there and say wow for the rest of it.
So I write a lot of books. And so because I'm constant, and I write more than one book at a time, I'm really good at compartmentalizing. So I write more than one book at a time. I write one book and work on one book, starting at 7 a.m, take a break. And I should be working on the second book now, but I think I'm going to just take the rest of the day off because I'm the boss and the boss said it's okay. But I write a second book later on in the day. I'm pretty good at compartmentalizing like that. But with that being said, I'm constantly finishing a book. I'm either finished, because I like to celebrate when I finish a first draft, and I like to celebrate when I finish a revision, and I like to celebrate when I finish the editing. But that pretty much means every week I'm celebrating.
I mean, I think that's pretty cool.
Right. But because I don't do well like drafting 2 books at a time. I have to be, one is in draft and one is like in revision or something. That works better for my brain to switch. So something is always getting done. So more stickers. That's how I celebrate. I go to the sticker store and get more stickers.
That sounds good. And 65 again. Wow. I'm like, wow. I'm gonna have to digest this afterwards. I'm like, what, 65? This is awesome. Because it's not just writing. Like I picture your writing, but also all the things and the steps you have to do to self-publish them and advertise them and doing all of that, like and changing the back matters, like just changing the back matters every time you have a new book.
I'm very good at processes. I come from television, but what I specifically did in television, aside from screenwriting, what I got my start in was something called production management. So I would be managing like 10 to 20 television shows at the same time in various processes. Like some are being written, some are being shot, some are being edited, some are being in syndication. So I realized, again, I played to my strengths. Before I even started writing, I knew that this was a strength of mine, that I could handle things that were in different modes. So that's my strength. And that's why I'm able to put out so much content. But some people have put out that much content and they're not selling that well. Maybe because they haven't found their audience. Maybe because it would be better if their books were rearranged differently. So I've been able to hit all the spots because I've watched, like when I first started, I was making maybe $100 a month, maybe, because I hadn't hit my stride. I hadn't found my audience. I didn't know how to advertise. So it's a lot of different pieces. I think you need to sit down and look at one piece at a time and have a process. I have a process. So it doesn't take me long to update back matter. It doesn't take me long to upload because I have a very checklist kind of process that I go through, get it done, and then move on to the next thing.
Have you ever thought about, that's something that just came to my mind. Have you ever thought about doing an online class or like an online thing for people who are learning how to do that?
I have some YouTube videos up that I did during last year during the pandemic when I wanted to talk. Just, hey, everybody out there, I'm alive and I know some book stuff. But running to do a running class, no. And the reason is I taught for 15 years. And it sucked that my school closed, but at the same time, it was kind of a blessing in disguise because I was getting burned out. And I was getting burned out because, again, all the students got to use my creativity. They all got to use my brain space. And it was a lot because I really cared about their stories and I wanted them to be the best. Because that's the kind of person that I am. I want to find your best, just like I want to find my best and the best of each of my stories. So I was getting burned out and I didn't know it. I didn't know what that term meant. So I'm not recovered from teaching. And I don't think that I'm going to recover because I have put so much on my plate in my own world with my books. Because I never wrote more than one book at a time when I was teaching. And it took me forever to write a book because I have dealing with other people's stories. So no, teaching is not in my future. I do like to lecture. So I will I will come on a podcast and say, hey, here's what I know. Here's information. Take it and run with it. However, I'm not a mentor. I don't offer any type of services like that. I don't offer any type of service where you can come and you can ask me a whole bunch of questions and I'll sit there and patiently answer you because I had 3 pen names living in my head, guys. So no, I will talk to you about it. And I give you a process and then, take that process and turn it on yourself.
That makes sense. I mean, it's also, as you said, like the teaching and then the creative process behind it, and then sometimes can like stifle one another if that's not what you have in the. So I have one last question. I know I've been asking you a lot of them, but what is the one moment in your writing career so far that when you think of, you smile?
I like getting fan mail. I know I've spent like the last hour talking about how antisocial I am.
Well, they're not at your door. They are in your inbox. So you can choose when you read them.
That is my point exactly. Yes. So I like getting fan mail and I get really tickled when someone takes time out of their day and they email me about my characters in the book. Like, again, I would be so cringy if I was doing this like face to face at a table. I'd be like, oh, thank you. But when it's over email, I can be like, oh my gosh, you're the best person in the world. That is so awesome. And then I usually say something like, which is true because I'm awful with names. I'll be like, Brenda, that's a lovely name. So expect to see it in a book one day. Thank you so much for the kind emails. And so yes, and I'd use a lot of people who email. If a reader emails me, I'm probably going to use their name. But that's what I like. I really like seeing that my stories have touched someone because they form in my head, and I'm using all of the tools and the techniques that I've learned over the years in television and as a screenwriting teacher. I'm using those techniques and I'm putting them down, and that's fun for me. I'm writing for me. I edit to make sure that somebody else can understand the vision that I had in my head. And then I publish to share, and yes, to make money. But it doesn't click until someone emails me, oh, yeah, right. People are actually reading the stuff that I wrote. This is kind of cool. So it would be fan mail.
I just wanted to let you know that I just wrote 51 for like the 51-minute soundbite. I write for myself, I edit so somebody else understands it, and I publish so people. I mean, that's
what I do. I sit and I talk to myself, the voices in my head, and then I share it.
Well, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate you taking some time out of your writing day and your self-publishing day to talk to me, to talk to the podcast audience, and for answering all the questions with so many tidbits I'll be able to reuse. I really appreciate it. Again, everybody, we have a giveaway, and I will give more information about that after we say goodbye to Ines. So thank you so much, Ines, again.
Thank you. It's lovely being here.
I told you, this chat with Ines was full of, I could take out so many tidbits out of that chat and just share them as advice to writers and self-published authors and all authors really, and creatives. And I really appreciate the time that Ines took to talk to me, to talk to us, to share her insights and her knowledge, and those Future Fridays episodes. I am just so grateful to the authors who are, just coming to talk to me on this podcast of mine so that we all can learn from them and also share or maybe realize that some of the, the struggles or the successes or the processes or the stories that we're all going through together in a way. So thank you for listening. And again, thank you for Ines for being here with us today, for being on the podcast. And don't forget that I have a giveaway for 3 different books. One book by Ines Johnson. You could win another book by her other pen name, Shanae Johnson. And as I've mentioned at the beginning, I am starting a new segment called Struggles and Smiles. So I will also share every week what I'm struggling with and smiling about when it comes to writing and self-publishing. So this week, the things I struggled with in regards to self-publishing is mainly the time that it took me to update In diesem einen Sommer, which is a summer like no other in German, including updating the keywords because I used Publisher Rocket again, and I discovered again that a few keywords that I was using for that particular book in German really needed to change. There was one keyword that I was using that had $0 in revenue and a very low number of searches. And yes, granted, the searches are just an approximation, but still, smiling. Quite a few reasons. I had a few reasons to smile this week, which is great. I wrote a plan to get this revision done. And basically, this is really a result of listening to El Penelope's podcast, who every week she talks about her plan for the week and also, says what she's done. She talks about the way she's planning things, and then also talking with Ines Johnson in this week's chat and rethinking the fact that, rereading her article and everything. And another thing that was very motivating in this is also my critic partners and I have a Google chat where we exchange snippets as we make progress in our books, and it's just very encouraging. So I made quite a bit of progress in my revision. Yay! Receiving emails from readers, including my first reader's email from Austria, Österreich, about my bilingual books. And I also received an email from an English-speaking reader, I don't know where that reader is from, who fell in love with Emma Nick's story in A Summer Like No Other. And it was such a sweet email. It really, talking about, the writing and talking about the story and just it's definitely just thinking about it. I'm smiling again, not talking about it. I'm smiling again. So thank you to those readers. If you're listening to my podcast, thank you so much for reaching out and taking the time to write me those emails. Another reason that I smiled this week was that I attended the Maryland Romance Writers online meeting on Wednesday. And in this meeting, Stacey Ackdern, author of Miracles and Menorahs, and Hallmark and multi-published author Janice Lynn discussed the magic of holiday-themed books and what it takes to make them special, even when your deadline lands in sunblock and sandal season. So that meeting prompted me to add a few more Christmassy details in the first chapters of The Leftover Bride, which takes place during the holiday season. It already has the holiday vibe, but I added some details at the beginning and it made me smile as I wrote them. So another yay! And part of that revision from The Leftover Bride, in addition to added Christmassy details and a few other things, is that I changed one word. And for some reason, it's small, but it made me feel like it was huge progress. I changed the word that he's good at to that he excels at. And I don't know, it felt like a power word. So I know Margie Lawson, who I took several classes, with or from, talks about power words and everything. And it just felt like I was stepping up my writing game with that change of verb. But it made me smile. So, another yay. And don't forget, I guess that's the moment to plug in my book too, that The Leftover Bride is available for pre-order for only 99 cents right now. You can also add it on Goodreads. The link are in the show's description. And of course, another reason that I smile when it comes to writing and self-publishing is, again, I worked on today's episode that we recorded last week, but re-listening to it as I was putting it up online also made me smile. So again, thank you, Ines. Don't forget that if you have a question for me about self-publishing or writing, you can email me at author.elodinovodatsky@gmail.com, and you can also record a message for me and I'll answer directly. That link is in the show's description. Again, thank you so much for listening. Thank you for sharing with your friends who might be interested about this podcast. And do not hesitate to rate, review, follow, subscribe. That really does help. So happy writing if you're a writer. And to everyone, happy reading.